muted myself. But I guess I didn't. So basically, I want to see if I could set this up without having my side. I don't know how we would do this, but is this even worth doing? No, because now if I wanted to be vertical, my horizontal now, this is better. I don't even know if this looks good. This probably looks terrible. We're not even going to attempt this. Oh, yeah, we're kicking that. Now, let's get right into today's show. That was a terrible start to today's show. And there was actually something I wanted to talk about. And first off, sorry for the terrible start to the show. If you do enjoy the show, be a friend and tell a friend. I'm not this usually I'm not this flabbergasted. I actually been running around all day. I had to go to my capstone class today, and we did our headshots because I'm basically anchoring the university news. It's kind of what you do, like as a journalist. And I'm going into TV news. This is like what my uniform's gonna probably be for like next year when I'm working and stuff. Try to be like a TV anchor reporter while doing the sports stuff on the side, just because sports is really competitive and they pay you no money until you make it worth it for them to pay you. That takes a long time. So I'd rather get paid doing local news and grow this stuff on the radio and on the internet. Now, Jackson, I believe, is driving to like Nashville or he's driving to Sarasota. And basically, I'm here doing this solo. We were going to have a guest, a Boston Celtics writer, Josh Trombino. Unfortunately, that guest was pushed to tomorrow due to the fact that he had some technical difficulties, nothing serious. The guy was I've done it before, an interview with him. Very last minute, he really wanted to come on, and it actually worked out because I was actually going to have to interview him solo. And that's fine. I've talked to him before, but I wanted Jackson to be there because I knew Jackson was just as excited. So unfortunately, it worked out. It was kind of a situation that worked out for the best of both worlds because Jackson wasn't here and Justin couldn't do it. So we're doing it tomorrow. Hopefully Jackson will be there. Now, let's run over something. Luka Doncic dropped a 47 bomb. Okay, 47 points, Luka Doncic, the second highest scoring performance in Eurobasket history. He carried Slovenia to an 88-82 win over France to clinch the Group B's top seed. His 47 points are the second most in history. Okay, and he broke Nick Gallis's record. Now, the Slovenian coach said, "We act like this is normal, but this is not normal." Okay, what Luka Doncic is doing is not normal. In other news of NBA news, NBA training camp starts this month, but it appears that Oklahoma City Thunder star Shai Gilgeous-Alexander decided to hold his own camp with some of his teammates recently. At that camp, there were 13 Thunder players. Shai, Josh Giddey, Lu Dort, Ousmane Deng, Jalen Williams, Trey Mann, Darius Baisley, Poku, Jeremiah Robinson-Earl, Jalen Williams, the one from Arkansas, Aaron Wiggins, Lindy Waters III, and Eugene Omor Rui, and some Thunder coaches like Chip Engelland were also in attendance. So that's good news that the Thunder are getting some reps in with their players, something that, is much needed as always. You always want to get reps with your camps. Speaking of running some camps, there's actually a workout going on. I just want to make sure. All right, we got sound going. And speaking of camps, the Cleveland Cavaliers are bringing in several free agents for a workout this week, similar to okay. So, what up, boys? So, Swaggy Jackson, I believe, is driving to Nashville or Sarasota because he's about to move. So, and he doesn't get he's literally an hour away. So, and basically, it seems like we're just doing a solo episode today. But either way, let me get back to what I was saying. The Cleveland Cavaliers are bringing in several free agents for the workouts this week, including Armani Brooks, Callan Martin, and Mamadi Diakite. So Diakite went to Virginia. If you guys didn't know, Callan Martin played for the Hawks at one point, and Armani Brooks recently was on the Raptors roster. Cavaliers and other NBA teams can bring up to 20 players to the training camp, except the Toronto Raptors have somehow circumvented that rule. which will begin at the end of this summer. This week's workouts allow team executives to get a closer look at potential camp invites. Sources say that the first workout took place on Tuesday, with the second one scheduled for Wednesday. One of the 9 players participating, Armani Brooks, Kellen Martin, and Mama Diakite, have the most NBA experience. Sources say 25-year-old G League veteran and former Portland Trail Blazer Raylan Spalding was also among the free agents expected to participate. So that's good to hear. And I think it's interesting to think about what's going on and, like, obviously why they're doing this is with the recent trade, there's always room to get depth. And I think that's basically what they're doing. They're just getting depth, and good for them. This is something I'm talking about is figuring out the best way to put yourself in a situation where you can succeed. Now, I said that really weird. Either way, let's move over to something interesting as I ramble. Oh my God, I didn't even put the ticketer up. This is why we're not a professional show. No ticketer or nothing. Here we go. And my little odor thing just squirted. I don't know if squirt is the right one. I love how, like, The Athletic writes about Pat McAfee now. Alrighty. So I think this is something interesting, and we're going to shout out David Aldridge of The Athletic. And this was a little thing that I enjoyed reading the other day, and it was the offseason rankings, in his opinion, 30 through 29. And right here's 30 through 21, my apology. So we're going to figure this out. We're going to make sure we can get it. 1 second. It says I didn't inject this shit correct. But right here, let's zoom up. My apologies, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, that was a little bit much. There we go. That's probably perfect for y'all. Let me know if you can't see it. And right now we're reading an article by David Aldridge, updated rankings of the NBA's best offseason moves by team from Spurs to Grizzlies, 30 to 21. Holy shit. If this man ranked the Grizzlies 21, I think my man Jackson over here just did a good job, because guess what he did? Literally same ranking. So what does he say? Accordingly, he says every year, if your team is ranked in the top 10, doesn't mean I love your team. If your team is ranked in the top 5, doesn't mean I hate your team. Cool. We're just reacting right here. We're reacting. So he writes, the San Antonio Spurs at 30. They're the worst team in the NBA. Look, I never put the Spurs as the worst team in the NBA, because when was the last time they had the first pick? I think Tim Duncan. Maybe David Robinson. I think Tim Duncan. But either way, that's here nor there. Gorgie Dang returned. Isaiah Roby claimed off the waiver wire. Team lost in the play-in round, 34-48. Also drafted Jeremy Sohan, someone that I'm very high on because of Sam Vecino at The Athletic. 9th overall pick. Malachi Branham looks like a modern-day swing man at the 20th overall pick. They got their backup point guard and potential combo guard, or even starting point guard in Blake Wesley, who's a microwave off the bench. Expect none of them to really play much this year, because even in a tanking year, I don't believe the San Antonio Spurs are going to really play any of their rookies that much. Why? Because that's not what they do. That ain't San Antonio's style. They also brought in Don Barlow, who I say is a poor man's Blake Griffin, on a 2-way contract, undrafted out of the overtime elite camp. Basically, overtime elite is the suicide. I don't know. Personally, I think everyone who came out of there has had no success. So besides that, they traded away DeJounte Murray in exchange for the 2023 first-round pick, the 2025 first-round pick, the 2027 first-round pick. They also got a 2024 second-round pick from Memphis, and they got a pick swap from Atlanta. And, they waived Danilo Gallinari after they got him from Atlanta. Lonnie Walker left. Jock Landale was traded. Kenny Chandler's draft rights were traded to Memphis. They retained nobody. They extended Keldon Johnson. And, Sorian's already suffered from COVID. This team, if anything, look at this. I didn't even look at this. The skinny. The Spurs are 2 for 2 when they've had high draft lottery. They had the first pick in 87 was David Robinson. That's who I said. And then the last time they had first round pick, Tim Duncan. So guess what? They're tanking for Victor. Imagine if they have the third first round pick or first pick of their career and they get Victor Wembanyama and he becomes God, the Spurs are fucking geniuses, or the NBA is rigging so the Spurs can stay relevant. I'm just kidding. The Spurs are fucking geniuses, and as long as Greg Popovich and R.C. Buford are there, I question none of their moves. The Indiana Pacers, in my mind, are the worst team. But Indiana Pacers retained Jalen Smith, which was a great deal, 3-year, $15.1 million. They also brought, kept O'Shea Brissett on the team option, got rid of TJ Warren, got rid of Ricky Rubio, who basically what they just traded him for. Like, he never played for them. Don't even acknowledge Rubio being there. Stauskas, Wave, Washington. Those are all basically all the guys they got in the deal from the Celtics. They only kept Daniel Tyson, Aaron Nesmith, drafted Benedict Mathurin, Andrew Nembhard. Yeah, this is the worst team. Okay, Kevin Brown's the good pick. So is Andrew Nembhard. So is Benedict Mathurin. Those are the only three good sides. Aaron Nesmith's a bust. Daniel Tice, he's the guy who should be on a veteran team. You're in a rebuild. You're the worst team in the NBA. I have no idea what your direction is. Besides, you have Tyrese Halliburton, Benedict Mathurin, I guess Andrew Nembhard, Chris Duarte, Isaiah Jackson. I want to see what Goga does. Okay. Now, I have Utah higher ranked because I actually fuck with the addition of Colin Sexton, Lauri Markkanen, Ochai Agbaji. I love Ochai. I want to see Udoka Azubuike be the starting center, which he allegedly is. Jared Vanderbilt, Vando. It's so sad he left us. Same thing with Ballamaro. Ballamaro could be a lot of things. Ballamaro could be a combination of, I've said in the past, Stanowski with Mike Carter-Williams is his floor. But I think his ceiling is like a poor man's Josh Giddey mixed with, I'm trying to think of somebody who has like similar length and lankiness and like plays that kind of like point forward role like him. Right now, I'm not thinking of anybody, but poor man's Josh Giddey will be he's way better defensively. And kind of like a Sean Livingston, like De'Aaron Ballamaro could be a mix of like a poor man's version, very poor man's version of Tyrese Halliburton mixed with Josh Giddey, with like but way better defensively. Like me, he's a different defender than all of them. Either way, I think the Utah Jazz could be really good or they could be really bad. I just think the idea of Sexton, Ochai Agbaji, Lauri Markkanen, Talen Horton-Tucker, Stanley Johnson, and everybody else just looks way better than what it seems like. Also, hopefully my audio is fine. I don't know if I need to talk any louder, but we're gonna look at it real quick because I hadn't actually thought about that. Now, all right, we'll move this microphone a bit closer. But yeah, no. So I think this is definitely something. If you look at it on the whole, I'm enjoying. I think the Utah Jazz could actually be a team that's better than people think. I mean, so in my opinion, Simone Fontecchio is a dark horse for the Rookie of the Year. By the way, the Chicago Bulls signed Malcolm Hill to a 2-way contract. I believe it said Shams Charania just tweeted Malcolm Hill is signing free agent. Chicago Bulls are signing free agent guard Malcolm Hill on a 2-way NBA contract, average 3.4 points and 10.4 rebounds. And I mean, that's definitely interesting, as we'll have to take. Let's do some breaking news right now. So, have you guys ever heard of Malcolm Hill? Malcolm Hill was a guy that I think is definitely interesting. Okay, and I'm just pulling up a picture of him so everyone gets an idea of who is Malcolm Hill, because we're about to do a little synopsis on him, as I do want to address the 2-way contract that they just signed him to. So Malcolm Hill has just signed a 2-way deal. Alrighty. And let me hear your thoughts down below. So let's get right into it. The Chicago Bulls are signing free agent guard Malcolm Hill on a 2-way NBA contract. Sources tell Shams Charania of The Athletic. As you guys know, Malcolm Hill actually played for the Atlanta Hawks and then played for the Chicago Bulls. He appeared in a handful of games, 16 to be exact, last season for the Bulls, averaging 3.4 points in 10.4 minutes. And he's a guy that I think is an interesting cat. He's been around the NBA. He's a grinder guy, deserving of an NBA contract. Yes, very much so. From St. Louis, Missouri. All right. He played for the Hawks after playing for the Birmingham Squadron. But the thing is this is a guy who played all over Europe after being a 4-star recruit going to Illinois. St. Louis, Missouri native, went to Belleville East, which is in Belleville, Illinois. So he grew up like born in St. Louis, but he's a native, I guess, from Illinois. And he went to Illinois College. And in college, if you guys did not follow him, he came out of the draft in 2017. And he was basically the last 2 years of college, basically almost at 18 points per game, 6 rebounds, 3 assists. A guy who can do a little bit of everything. His weakest part of his game, arguably, is just his shooting consistency. He's going to be a guy who's going to come in and play hard, always on defense. And again, he's a guy also, he has thoracic outlet syndrome and had underwent surgery to repair a blood clot in his upper arm in 2012. Hopefully that's something that it doesn't resurface. But how does he fit on this roster? He's just an insurance policy, basically being 6'6", 220. He's a guy who can play shooting guard in a pinch, small forward in a pinch, and even some power forward if you need to in a pinch, as he's a guy who's shown being a strong rebounder and capable of grabbing, in college, multiple rebounds. But I think what you have to do is when you look at these guys that played overseas, don't look at their college stats, because fuck that. They become different players after leaving college, especially when you go overseas and you play in the Israeli league. You play in the VTB, which is, I believe, it's not is it the Lithuanian or is that the Russian? And he also played in the German league. And on all those leagues, like, he actually was like, shooting 37, 39%. Obviously those, 3-point lines are a little shorter, but still, he's a guy that for the Windy City Bulls was averaging 18 a night. Birmingham Squadron, 12 a night. And then in the VTB League, 20 a night. And Israel League, 10 a night. Okay, 13 in Germany. So he's a guy who can score, and rebounding. He's a guy who can average, 5, 6, 7 rebounds a night. He can play power forward. And he's also a guy who's averaged in all those leagues over a steal a night and about half a block. So he's a capable player. I know he's just kind of irrelevant, but I think he's somebody that people need to pay attention to because he could make a name for himself. I know it's just a two-way, but let me hear your thoughts. I'm done. Let's get back to what this video was originally about. Now, what do you guys think? What up, Mr. 81? What up, everyone? Alrighty. Let me bring back what we were originally talking about, which was this bad boy over here. My apologies, guys. Give me 1 second. Sometimes the screen just gets messed up and you're just like, oh, come back, baby. Alrighty, here we go. We're good to go. So here we are, and yes, at 27, we have the Charlotte Hornets. This is the Athletics. David Aldridge, I guess it would be. David Aldridge of the Athletic. He made his updated offseason rankings after all the moves, and currently he ranks the Utah Jazz as the 28th worst team. At 29, the Indiana Pacers, the worst team in the league, the San Antonio Spurs. And then just below that, he put at 27, the Charlotte Hornets. The Charlotte Hornets lost in the playoffs. But I've been a guy who said this whole time, I'm like, the Charlotte Hornets have just stagnated. They have not improved themselves at all. Honestly, I think they almost went in reverse. Okay, they almost went in reverse, and I don't think there's anything fortunate we can say about the Charlotte Hornets right here. The only thing, who's coming back from injury? Gordon Hayward. They kept Cody Martin. They kept Jalen McDaniels. They could have had Jalen Duren, Mark Williams, which would have solved their center issues 100% because one of them would be a stud. At least now we're hoping Mark Williams will be good. They fired James Borrego. And the thing is the only reason they brought back Steve Clifford is because of defense. And I think it's just interesting as hell to think about, on a whole, and they say it right here, Miles Bridges being charged with, the DB is what's holding him up from actually getting a chance to this team to be ranked higher. Because we all know this team would rank higher if they weren't obviously facing the fact that Miles Bridges might not ever play down of basketball ever again. And it sucks to say that, but it's low-key the truth. And that's because He did that first in California, which he's being charged on a state level. This isn't somebody who can redact it. The person who's going to have to redact the charge is the district attorney. Now, that's where it definitely complicates things. So I think this is just an interesting situation that he's put himself in because the Charlotte Hornets, they need defense, and they didn't do anything to improve their defense, and they're looking at bringing back Kemba, and I make this joke all the time, but I'm almost dead ass serious when I make the joke. They're trying. Oh god, that's not at all what I wanted. They're going back to 2015, and why? Why would you want to go back to 2015? Like, it's almost ridiculous. So that's where I look at this, and I think it's interesting as all hell because I don't know what's the right answer or what's going on because this is a terrible, terrible offseason, in my opinion, for the Charlotte Hornets. Okay. And I maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the guys on their roster are going to take a bigger jump than I would ever expect. But in my mind, I don't see that happening, and that's due to the fact that I think the team is it's not that they're miserable, but I say it's far from them being miserable. It's more the fact that you went backwards. You didn't improve. You didn't make any big drafts, choices. You didn't blow me out the water. Like you're wasting Lamelo's time. Okay, Michael Jordan, you're the greatest basketball player of all time. But I guess what LeBron has you beat because at least LeBron as the GM has made better moves than you have as a GM. Okay, you need to fucking Ryan, whatever the fucking guy's name, Reinsdorf. Maybe I'm being a bit aggressive right now, but legitimately, it's actually quite ridiculous that they just never, ever were able to, I guess, necessarily figure out how to utilize our man. I guess not utilize, but this, like, I don't get what's wrong with our guy, Michael Jordan, in trying to build a basketball team. I seriously mean that without a doubt. So let's get right into the rest of this. This is what we're gonna do. Next up is the Dallas Mavericks. With the Dallas Mavericks over here at 20 fucking 6. They have the Dallas Mavericks ranked as the 26th basketball team in the NBA. David Aldridge, you know what? Look, David, I love you. I love you, David. I think you do a great job with everything you do. You are a talented son of a bitch. Okay. But you were giving the Dallas Mavericks, okay, the Dallas Mavericks who went to the conference finals, basically the same team, the fucking 26th ranking in the NBA. Why? Because the only guy they retained was Theo Penson. The only guy they lost, okay, is Jalen Brunson. Okay, look, Jalen Brunson. Marquise Chris didn't play. Trey Burke didn't really play. Sterling Brown didn't play. Boban Marjanovic, a guy, is an actor now. What do you mean? He doesn't play. So the fact that you're saying that they had a bad offseason and that you're giving them this ranking, I think, is just, you know, bullshit because they did have a better season. They did have like Jalen Brunson wasn't that big of a deal. I think Tyler Dorsey could shock some people and is a guy who could end up not on a two-way contract by the end of the season. Besides that, I think Jaden Hardy's another guy who could shock some people. And they're looking at Dennis Schroeder. And you know what? I think Dennis Schroeder on this team, on this offense, could make some noise. I don't know why, but I definitely see them making a lot of noise. They have the talent, and personally, I don't see the reason why one would have to, I guess you would say, act as if this isn't something they're capable of doing. Because I personally, I think they are capable and they're way better than one would imagine. So that's basically it for me on that. I think this is a bad David Aldridge. I usually like everything you put out. And to me, this is just a bad take. Bad take. Okay. And that's because I think the Dallas Mavericks are a top 20 team in the NBA, maybe closer to 20. But yeah, I think definitely not 26. And now I want to hear your guys' thoughts on any of the teams that you haven't seen on the list yet. Where do you think they'll end up ranking? I think David Aldridge, he's a tough guy. Okay, he's a tough grader. So let's see if we can keep up with his grades. Because right now, I think I'm like completely off of what he's like giving us. So either way, let's go down over here to 25, the Milwaukee Bucks. And right here at 25, the Milwaukee Bucks. They went 51 and 31. And you have them ranked as as 25. I find that ridiculous. Joe Ingles and Hugo Benson, who they just got his draft rights. AJ Green on to a Marjon Beauchamp, which I thought was a great pickup. Okay, personally, and look, this is a team that they have a bunch of talent. I think again another team that yes closer to 20, but I still think a top 20 team. And almost like rude that they're giving the idea that this isn't a top, a top team in the NBA. Top 20 for sure. Moving on. So at 24, the Golden State Warriors. What is this? David Aldridge, are you the toughest grader? Are you the toughest son of a bitch when it comes to grading these NBA teams? Because god damn, if I had to say so myself, I ain't never met anybody as tough of a grader on these NBA teams. You're putting the team that just won an NBA championship at 24, David Aldridge. You are one funny son of a bitch. You're not a son of a bitch, but let me hear your reasoning right here. Yes, they lost Gary Payton. Yes, Otto Porter. Those guys were big hits. Nemanja Bjelica, went to Fenerbahce, replaceable. Juano Toscano Anderson to the Lakers, replaceable. Brother-in-law of Steph, Damian Leary from Calvert Hall, where every one of my friends went to high school, replaceable. Tyrese Martin, I did not know. Oh, wait. Yeah, his draft rights. I actually did know that. And you know what? Replaceable. And what's up? Assistant coach Mike Brown. That one's I actually admit probably tough to replace because, but they kept Kenny Atkinson. They convinced Kenny Atkinson. They made him pull a Billy Donovan, which was like the funniest thing in the world, in my opinion. Like absolutely a riot. But they put them, yes, Lester Quinaz, Dante DiVincenzo, Jermichael Green, Patrick Baldwin, Ryan Rollins aren't going to solve it. By the way, Guy Santos, from my understanding, is going overseas. They haven't talked about it much, but as of my understanding, they're keeping him overseas for a year or two. I don't think you know, necessarily in Brazil, but I think they want to send him to like Spain or somewhere in Europe just because it's a better league, which I think we all can agree on that being true. But look, I just uh and yeah, no, I just think it's an interesting situation with the whole ordeal because I don't know what really is going on with the Golden State Warriors. I think they're definitely a top 10 team, but I don't know why people acting like they're not that good. Okay. When I think definitely they are a good team, a team that people should be somewhat afraid of. I don't know if afraid's the best words, but yeah, I think a team that is better than what they seem on paper. People acting like they lost big pieces, like Jonathan Kuminga and Moses Moody, all going to take jump, okay? And it's not going to be that big of a deal. And I hope people do realize that because this is a good team that has talent. So I want to hear your thoughts on that down below. What would you guys do if you were in these shoes? I don't know. Let's move on to the next team, as there are so many teams we can talk about. I have, feel like I can just ramble on each team for forever, but I feel good that that's not what I need to do. So let's move on, and yeah, let's hit it. Now we're going over to the Lakers. I agree with the Lakers at 23. My my peer, my colleague, my co-host, my equal, Jackson. I think the Lakers could be a top 10 team in the NBA, but I think they are closer to 20 than they are. As of right now, because I don't know like what the hell they're doing. And it's due to the fact that yes, look, if you guys want to compare it to video games, they basically only have 290 overalls, and it's basically they have two like 99 overall. Like LeBron's like a 95 and AD's like a 90. Okay. And the rest of the roster are like either middle 70s or high 70 players. If you layman fucks want to understand it like that. That's like if I need to explain it to people in like simple terms, which I hate it. I hate that. I think this team. They made the right thing. They're like a few pieces away. This problem is like Damian Jones, Thomas Bryant, Lonnie Walker, Juan Scott Anderson, Troy Brown, all guys that I think could make up a championship team. Problem, I think you're a few pieces still away from being able to fully, bite the bite of a championship team. I think just right now you're a bit handicapped with this roster in terms that there's no scoring off the bench really. Okay. You're not going to tell me that Lonnie Walker the fourth is going to be the next coming of, you know, Jamal Crawford or Lou Williams. And for me, I just think, hey, we're in a situation where these are teams that they need to rely on the fact that they they need to play defense and be underdogs. And maybe they can do it with this team. But I'm just scared that maybe they won't be able to fully be able. I don't know what's the right way to preface my concern that these players don't have room for growth, and I think that's what is expected of them to an extent is that they're going to grow when I don't know if there's much more room to grow necessarily due to the fact that I think they could arguably be capped out as players if that makes sense. And not that they're bad players, like these are guys that I would love to have on my depth, building up the depth of a team. But at the same time, I have no idea if these are the guys you want to be necessarily your concrete. Like you want Juan Toscano Anderson or Troy Brown Jr. to close out your games in the fourth quarter? Seriously. Same thing with Damian Jones or Thomas Bryant. Nothing against them. They're some of the best basketball players in the world, generational talents. Okay, all of them. Okay, like they were probably the best player in their state. They were probably the best player at their position in their class. Okay, but in the NBA, so is everybody else. And that's where I sit here and I'm like, all right, what's going on? What pushes the needle? And this is where I just kind of have to agree with our guys that right here, David Aldridge, that I can't put my money that the Lakers are a 20 team. And I know Jackson's going to be hurt because I'm not eating LeBron's butthole like he does, but I'm just saying. And I, look, I could see this being different if our man Russell Westbrook turns into Russell Westbrook from the year of the Washington Wizards, where he was averaging 24 points, 13 assists, 11 and a half rebounds on 32% from three on 5 attempts or 6 attempts from three a night. If he does that, I believe that they can be a top 3 seed guaranteed. But I really don't have faith that he's doing that. And I think it's interesting. Now, if we carry on to the Miami Heat, I think the Miami Heat are another interesting team. Also, guys, I just uploaded a YouTube video regarding Malcolm Hill to the and yeah, so I just uploaded a video. If you guys want to check that out after this. But yeah, let's talk about the Miami Heat. Dude, David Aldridge, you are a tough son of a bitch. 22, the Miami Heat. Or is this the backwards day? This is a team that lost PJ Tucker, and then, they waived Mulder and Javante Smart. Those are big deals, but They brought back Dwayne Dedman, Oladipo, Caleb Martin, Udonis Haslem, and they added Nikola Jovic. Marcus Garrett came back Thursday, two-way, and then they're giving Jamal Cain, Orlando Robinson, Jeremy Boye, all the opportunity to make the roster. And look, this is a team that I definitely think is a top 20 team. David Aldridge, I'm against you on this. And I just think it's interesting to see what's going on with this team due to the fact that why really you're just saying because the fact that it's literally the same team as last year that was the number one seed and made it to the Eastern Conference Finals, was a shot away from making it to the finals. They just lost PJ Tucker. You're acting like PJ Tucker was the heart and soul of this team, that they're not going to be a 20 top 10 20 team. Okay. And that's where I look at this. I'm like, this is just blasphemy. This team is actually way better than most people would anticipate. So I think, bullshit. Yeah, I want to hear your guys' thoughts on that one, but let's move on. Also, we might not go for the full hour. I might just run through this list, then we'll call it a dead. At 21, we have the Memphis Grizzlies, 56-26. They lost in the Western Conference semifinals. My apology. Danny Green, Jake LaRavia, David Roddy, Kennedy Chandler, Vince Williams Jr., Kenneth Lofton Jr. were all brought in to replace D'Anthony Milton, Kyle Anderson, Terrell Terry, Ty Washington, who they've never had, but they had his draft rights and they traded it to Houston. Same thing hypothetically with Walker Kessler. Walker Kessler rights were Memphis's. He was traded to Minnesota, and then he was traded to the Jazz. And then, they traded their 2023 second round pick to Minnesota, 2024 to San Antonio via the Lakers, and they were able to retain Tyus Jones, and they extended John Morant and John Conchar. Returning from injury will be Danny Green and Jaren Jackson Jr. And it's interesting that they had them last right there, and that's kind of like the 21 rankings, like exactly where we had them. So the irony in that is funny. Now 20 through 11, let's go through it. At 20, damn, you know what? At this point, Mr. David Aldridge, I thought you guys were going to have, the Raptors a lot higher due to the fact that you were going, and also Thomas Perry, Thomas and Aaron. I don't even know what Mr. 81's favorite team is, and Mr. 81, I was recording a video, but over here for me, I will, because you guys are watching, Mr. 81. I don't know your team, but Perry, I know you're a Raptors fan. Barton knows you're a Hawks fan. So when we get to we're at the Raptors right now. So I'll spend a little extra time on the Raptors. And if the Hawks come up in this list right here between 20 and 11, we will talk about them as well. Now, let me take these jewel rips. That's good stuff right there. No dead air. So I'll hit the jewel right into the microphone. So there's no dead air. That was like ASMR for whoever's listening. Okay. And you grew up watching the Pacers before Raps came along. That's awesome, dude. So you were probably watching like the Pacers with you're probably watching the Pacers, Reggie Miller and shit. Now, let's talk about it. The Toronto Raptors. They went 48-34. I think they are top 20. I honestly would, if you had to tell me to put money on it. They're closer to 10 than 20. And David Aldridge has him at 20 right here. Otto Porter was brought in. That was a great signing. Same thing with Juancho Hernan-Gomez. They just got this was something that the Raptors love, multi-positional players. Literally, if you just look at right here, they have DJ Wilson. Guy can play small forward and power forward. And in a pinch, you could argue he could play small ball 5. Juancho Hernan-Gomez, same thing. Small forward, power forward, and can play, small ball 5 in a pinch. Same thing with Otto Porter. Can play all those 3 positions, small ball 5 if really needed. He was utilized at points like that for the Warriors. Ron Harper's a guy who's like a shooting guard, small forward, and could develop into a power forward along the lines of Jay Crowder and PJ Tucker. Jeff Dalton's a scorer. He could turn into a microwave for them if he does develop into something. I don't see much of Christian Colocu unless in games they need to go really big because they're playing like Joel Embiid's and like, you know, Josip Nurkic, and they're smaller centers. It's not that they're small, their centers are small, they're lanky, but most of them are skinny as fuck. So, you just need some guy. Of course, Goloku has some weight, so you can take the bruising style of some of the big mans that some teams will impose on the lankiness and the length of the Raptors. They were able to kick Chris Boucher, one of the best shot blockers. Thad Young, another, and even Gabe Brown, three guys right there, all multi-positional. That's the thing with the Raptors right here. And Fred VanVleet's coming back from a hip strain and a right knee bruise, or a bruised knee, my apology. And Kevin Birch is coming from a right knee arthroscopic surgery. And this was a team that, look, like it says right here, they run it back, very good, still young, defensive first core. They brought players in that are going to spread the floor, cut, make some threes, defend, fit in, and be professionals. That's what everyone that they brought in the lines of, Porter, Juancho Hernan-Gomez, DJ Wilson, Justin Champagny, they brought in young guys to keep the youth culture going and just continue to build what they have, which as a whole is smart. Now, over here, the New Orleans Pelicans. Well, let me, before I get to the New Orleans Pelicans, I want to finish the Raptors. I think the Raptors are contingent on their health. This team needs just if their core seven guys through Fred VanVleet, Gary Trent, Scotty Barnes, Pascal Siakam. Did I say Fred VanVleet? And I mean, you would throw in Precious Achua in there now, Otto Porter. If all those guys can stay healthy for 70 games, 65 at a minimum, they're good. And, they're having the world's biggest training camp. Like, it's fucking, somehow they have more than 20 players at training camp. I don't even know how they're doing it. It's weird, but it's going to work out, and I find it interesting. Now, the New Orleans Pelicans, they're 44-38. EJ Liddell for his ACL. Carlo Matakovic is a stash in draft. Dyson Daniels is the only rookie who's going to be here. And, Kier Lewis Jr. is going to come back. And so is Williamson. I don't know what this team's at least going to have the same record, or they're going to be way better. But they're good without Zion. They should only be fucking better with them. I agree with this. The Phoenix Suns are trash, even though I think Jock Landale's going to shock people, okay? And then Damian Lee, Josh Okogie were good depth guys. Dwayne Washington's a good guy to bring in a two-way. McGee, Kaminsky, and Holiday, that's fine. Those guys, they weren't difference makers. Aiden, they shouldn't have kept them. They should have just traded him away. Bismack Biyombo was smart, and Ish Wainwright, him and Dwayne Washington will lock it down on the two ways. Dario Saric is arguably the biggest return. Okay, Dario Saric, Jacques Landale, Bismack Biyombo are going to help, alleviate any pressure DeAndre Ayton feels. And honestly, if they don't like what they have with DeAndre Ayton, trade deadline comes, DeAndre's out, and they got themselves Biyombo, Jacques Landale, and I guess, who else did I say? Jock Landale, Bismack Biyombo, and Dario Saric. They can hold down that center position just as well as DeAndre Ayton starting. I think the Brooklyn Nets are lowly ranked. I think they're at least the 15th best team. I think they could be, even ranked a little bit higher if one wanted to say. Kessler Edwards, Kyrie, and Patty being retained were good. I think Royce O'Neal and TJ Warren, Markieff Morris, Yuto Watanabe, and Edmund Summer were all good pickups. Basically all shooters. O'Neal's a good shooter. TJ Warren's a good scorer, and he's had good shooting years. Markieff Morris is a league average shooter. Edmund Summers had great shooting years. Yuto Watanabe is a league average shooter. Okay, Kessler Edwards a dead eye. Patty Miles is a dead eye. Kyrie Irving's a dead eye. I know they lost defense with Drummond. Well, Drummond really wouldn't say defense, but Bruce Brown primarily being the defensive guy. So that one's interesting. Bring back Nick Claxton was huge, and Ben Simmons coming back and Joe Harris coming back is going to be huge. Seth Curry should be fine, hopefully. Surprised that the Bulls also another team that I think what I would put at least at 14. Nets Bulls similar place, you know. But the Bulls are a good team. Bulls, they only lost Troy Brown and they added what? Dragic, Drummond, Terry, right there, three guys, and they lost one guy. Okay, and they retained I thought Justin Lewis wasn't someone that they retained, but Justin Lewis they signed to a two-way. They signed Carlick Jones to an Exhibit 10, Javon Freeman Liberty, and Derek Jones Jr. retained. Tony Bradley opted in, and Zach LaVine re-signed. That was the biggest thing for them. But Dragic's a good signing. Terry was a good pick, and Drummond was a good signing as well. So I like all those. Nothing against them. I think the Chicago Bulls did all right, but I think I would rank them higher than what David Aldridge had them right here. I think 16 is a bit low for the Chicago Bulls. I think they're a better team than most people would suggest. So I think this is just a low ranking for them, and I think that's just kind of a bit douchey. But let's move on. Lonzo Ball's the difference maker. This team could be a championship contender if Lonzo's healthy. Now, Bradley Beal is returning from wrist injury. Monte Morris, Will Barton, DeLon Wright, Taj Gibson, Johnny Davis were all guys who are going to be on the roster next year, while Yannick Zoza and Makur Maker, probably Zoza's a stash and draft. Makur Maker has a chance to make the roster, but I doubt that they do. But, they lost KCP, Ish Smith, Thomas Bryant, Raul Neto, and Tomas Stanarowski, which right there, yes, that's 5 players, but they did just bring in themselves 5 players, and they, were able to retain Anthony Gill and the main one, Bradley Beal. If Bradley Beal looks like 2018, 2019, Bradley Beal, Kyle Kuzma, and Kristaps Porzingis play for the entire season like how they did if you look at their stats post All-Star, like Kuzma was like 20 and 10. Kristaps was like 23 and 10 and, 4 assists and like 2 blocks a game and almost a steal. Literally looked like Kristaps Porzingis all NBA caliber. Could be way better. At 14, fuck that. The Knicks are like the 20th team in the NBA. Fuck the Knicks. Fuck the Knicks. Jalen Brunson, that's a cool signing, but no defense. Isaiah Hartenstein, I think, was a better signing than Brunson, in my opinion. Trevor Keels, that's a good guy who won't make an effect for a while. They got Nikola Randijevic, draft rights, who's never going to come here and play. And they acquired like 4 first-round picks, 3 in next year's draft, and 1 in 2025 and a second-round pick in 2025. They lost Noel, who I think would have helped them, but they have Jericho Sims and Mitch Robb still. Al Burks and Kemba Walker, not a big deal. Taj Gibson, not a big deal. Jalen Duren would have been fucking cool, in my opinion, if you're going to trade away Nerlens Noel. I mean, it would have been cool to keep Jalen Duren. Would have been cool to keep Ousmane Dang. Okay. And then, they traded away their second-round picks, and that I don't really care for. But Mitchell Robinson and Jericho Sims were the big things. And then, you extended R.J. Barrett to a annual deal of $30 million a year. Supposedly Cam Reddish is hated by the coaching staff. So I don't even know what to anticipate here. Fuck the Knicks. The Clippers at 13. They added John Wall, Musa Diabate, and Moses Brown on Exhibit 10, who I think Moses Diabate and Moses Brown will fight for to replace Isaiah Hartenstein. They're able to keep Covington and Batum and Amir Coffey. Brought back Scrub and Moon to fight for the two-way spot, and they kept Zubac. Kawhi's coming back for an injury, and Paul George should be fully healthy. I don't know why you're not going to say this is the best team in the NBA. I'm actually fucking pissed. You put the Magic in front of the Clippers. I love me the Magics, and I think the Magic are a dark horse team. Okay, and the Magic, look, they're fantastic. Magic's a dark horse team. Paulo Banchero, Caleb Houston. This team lost only Robin Lopez, and they were able to bring in 2 guys. Okay, so they actually got 1 more deep. The Admiral Schofield looks like a dog. Jonathan Isaac, might come back. Bull might come back. Jalen Suggs should be fucking healthy. How are you putting? The Magic are awesome, but I'm having the Clippers way in front of them. I'm having the Nets in front of them. I'm having the Wizards in front of them. But still, I still think the Magic are a dark horse team, but they're closer to 20, if not 22 or 23. Okay, that is fucking shocking. Orlando at 12. Now, at 11, Detroit. Kevin Knox, Roddy McGruder, Nerlens Noel, Al Burks, Jaden Ivey, Jalen Duren, Gabriel Prochet, Buddy Boehm. Okay, a bunch of picks. They lost Jamie Grant, Nikola Radicic, Ishmael Kamage, Luka Garza, Frank Jackson, Carson Edwards, and a few picks. But they also were able to keep Marvin Bagley, Corey Joseph, and Himido Diallo. And guess what? I think this is a team that's going to have a bunch of cap space next year. And you're funny, Thomas Perry. But yeah, no, I think this is all interesting. Dude, you put the Pistons and the Magic in front of the Clippers. I agree, both the Pistons and the Magic are dark horse teams. But let's just be honest. On paper, I don't have the Pistons or the Magic in front of the Clippers. Okay, the Wizards, the Bulls, or the Nets, or even the Suns, or the Pelicans, or the Raptors. Flip this list. Okay, 20 should be 11, and 11 should be, I don't know, Clippers should be higher. All right, guys. That was today's show. We're going to end it a few minutes early. I'm beat. Hope you guys did enjoy. 52-minute one. Let's see if there's any news we could talk about, because why not? We'll go over here. Let's refresh this and see if there's anything worth mentioning. Bulls bringing back Malcolm Hill. We agree right there. And right here, looking like nothing. Blazers signed 4 players to training camp. We already addressed those. And yeah, looks like that's about everything, guys. Nothing else to talk about. Hope you guys do have a great day. If you guys did enjoy today's show, we did run about 7 minutes short due to the fact that I did this by myself and was not planned. But thank you for everyone who's joined today. That was a lot, okay? But besides that, yeah, thanks, Thomas. Thanks for everyone who showed. Hit that like and subscribe button. If you enjoy the show, be a friend and tell a friend. If you didn't enjoy the show, just forget it ever fucking happened. And enjoy your guys' night. I'll see you guys tomorrow. We're going to have to figure out what we do Friday, because I'm going on a lake trip and I'm getting fucked up this weekend. So, yeah. And I drive Friday morning. Like, my girlfriend takes her LSAT test because she's, going to law school on Friday morning. And as soon as she's done, I'm picking her up and we're leaving for the Lake of the Ozarks to go on a fraternity lake trip. So that'll be fun. I got to do a lot of shit before I can leave. Fuck me. I got to go, guys. Bye.